Hello and welcome to another episode of the British English Podcast, the show that I imagine you know by now is all about giving you culture-based conversations that are hopefully somewhat entertaining, and at the same time exposing you to natural expressions that native speakers use in their everyday communication. And in this one, I'm going to be giving you a little update about me, myself, and Irene. Now, if you get that inside joke, then you are a very loyal podcast listener of mine, and I would say I love you. Sadly, it is rather conditional love, isn't it? How superficial of me. But I've been questioning unconditional love lately, because I believe I was raised with an abundance of unconditional love, especially from my mother, which is probably why I feel so incredibly secure in the relationships that I make, which is, yay for me. But I notice that my wife actually says, I love you to me when I do a nice thing for her. And I catch myself doing something of a similar nature in return. And I was contemplating whether it's such a bad thing or not, because I look at my niece and nephews, who are just lawless criminals running around terrorizing anyone and everyone in their village, and I think I just don't want to praise these humans for existing in such a naughty way. I hope my sister never sees this. But is it so terrible to strive for a reward based on a positive behavior? I don't know. You know what we should do is we should analyze the parenting styles and behaviors of the naughtiest of dictators in the world and see how many were given unconditional love, right? Because, imagine if little Adolf was praised for everything he did when he was young. That might have been the seed he needed to lead on to doing what he did. Because in his brain, he might have always known, whatever I do, Mummy will always love me. Isn't it just the most unfathomable thought, though? Especially if you're a mother right now, to think that Adolf Hitler had a mother, as in some woman gave birth to a human who carried out what he did. Now, I'm obviously not putting the death of 6 million plus Jewish people down to his mother, but I'm just curious, I should probably research this. Yeah, I mean, we've gotten in this far. I'm going to research it. Give me a second. Okay, so it seems historians actually have a fairly good idea of what his childhood emotional environment was like. Apparently, I'm not the first to think of looking into the childhood of dictators. So, according to the internet, people often picture one of two extremes with monsters being formed, not literal monsters. Well, what is a monster? I mean, finish a thought, Charlie. Jesus Christ. So either people think of a cold, loveless upbringing, or parents who worship them and tell them they're special. Pretty dangerous, right? And weirdly, little Adolf kind of had both, because his father was described as very authoritarian. He one-upped him there, didn't he? Jesus. And his father was frequently violent, and it says he was the sort of parent where the emotional lesson you learn as a child is basically power hurts you. So you don't relax around that person. You kind of manage them. But his mother was apparently the opposite, extremely doting. Extremely doting. Doting is a good word. Giving a lot of attention. Very overprotective as well, and completely devoted to him, especially after losing several children before he survived. So the emotional world for him was rather confusing. That's just state. We are not empathizing with this human. We are observing. So yeah, one parent equals fear, the dad, and then one parent equals safety, but almost too much safety. And psychologists have said that obviously doesn't create security. It creates unpredictability. You don't learn people are safe. You learn some people adore me, some people humiliate me, and I need control. So I'm never the small one again. And apparently, children raised in that sort of mixed environment often grow up hypersensitive to shame. They react very strongly to humiliation and rejection, and they compensate by needing certainty, admiration, and control. Bum, bum, bum. Now, obviously, plenty of people have difficult childhoods and don't become dictators. So again, we're not putting the blame on his parents. It's just the emotional ingredients, I guess, that are interesting to observe. But it does somewhat challenge the simple idea of unconditional love, right? Too little affection damages you, but affection without emotional stability also doesn't ground you. So I guess that what actually creates secure adults seems to be something less romantic and more boring. Just consistent, calm behavior with predictable reactions. Maybe the lesson is not praise children for everything, nor be strict so they respect you. But, don't make your emotional reactions a mystery your child has to solve. Anyway, how did we get there? Because I said I might love you if you get my lame reference about me, myself, and Irene. But let's clarify that, because I actually interviewed an Irene, another person called Irene, before, who is my friend's mother. And I coined her the storytelling queen that goes by the name of Irene. But no, when I was starting this podcast, six plus years ago, I think now, just before COVID, and then obviously during COVID, I was just so invested. I was becoming far too attached to my microphone. Don't get weird. But yeah, I was spending many hours alone in a soundproof cupboard with just my thoughts and the microphone. And I thought, yeah, I need to name you. You're far too emotionally attached to me. You're too much of an identity to not have a name, really. But there's also a film that goes by this name, Me, Myself, and Irene. And the main character has a personality disorder where he switches between two personalities. And I kind of felt like I was doing that at the same time. I was switching between the podcast version of me and the normal version of me. But you know what? Over time, I think those two have kind of become more and more aligned. I should just take my microphone to the shops with me and greet the sales assistant by saying, hello and welcome to your customer relation. I'm your customer and I'm thrilled to be experiencing this moment with you. Right, I do need to confess something. I've had 2 flat white coffees back to back and I'm starting to get palpitations. So let's just take a big breath and focus on what I intended to talk to you about today, which is why I left London. Yes. Although I'd like to add that I've already used some rather advanced vocabulary that I want to teach you, like I think I said unfathomable, palpitations, to one-up somebody. So what I've actually done is created a PDF lesson pack that helps you really get comfortable with these phrases that I'm using in this episode. So I highly recommend grabbing that free PDF right now, and then we can continue the fun whilst being 3 times more likely to remember the vocabulary I'm exposing you to in this very video. To get that, scan the QR code on screen right now, or click the link in the description, show notes, or comments section. And when you click that link, it will take you to this page. Fill out your name and email so I can send the PDF lesson pack directly to your email inbox. All right. So, why I left London? Well, for those who don't know about me, myself, and Irene, you may want to know that I was born and bred just south of London, raised with unconditional love, as mentioned above. And then, after doing a degree in psychology in the Midlands in Nottingham, I went to live in Santiago de Chile. I've not said Santiago de Chile because I read a comment and he said that I was doing it like an Italian, which is obviously not what I'm aiming for. So Santiago de Chile, Santiago de Chile, Santiago de Chile. Anyway, because I loved the idea of traveling and working. And oh boy, did I do that. Yeah, I saw a lot of Chile whilst teaching. It was bloody fantastic. And then I followed my wife to be at the time to the United States of America and lived there for a year or two. We then moved on to live in Germany for 4 years, then Sydney for another 4 years, and then moved back to the UK and lived in Southwest London for 3 years. And very recently, we have decided to leave London and the UK for that matter. And here is why. So if you are any good at pattern recognition, we've gotten used to moving countries every few years. And because I encouraged my wife over to the dark side of self-employment and remote work, we can now literally go anywhere as long as we have good Wi-Fi, which is cool. It's really cool. But I did notice that it often brings a certain level of dissatisfaction to my life, because while I was in London, I was thinking about all the other places we could be living. And I wasn't able to be mindful and present of enjoying the place that I was living. And also, after living there for a while, I realized that a city that size is not what I enjoy. It just added a bit too much friction when socializing, because there was nearly almost an hour travel time to see friends. So, 2 hours on the underground for a dinner. It did annoy me a little bit. Call me petty, but I'll deliberately mishear that and think you said pretty. Anyway, there was also so much choice in London that I felt like I was never really a local. I was just constantly visiting different boroughs throughout the city, almost as if I was a tourist. Not to mention the living costs, which admittedly were rather crippling. So we spent more time worrying about being able to afford life in general than ever before. Yes, that is because it was the first time for us to be self-employed, both of us to be self-employed. So we had no monthly paycheck to rely on. But beyond all of that, I just felt like something was missing. And a big part of my identity is having chosen freedom over financial security. I've not chased a typical job that rewards you with a stable income and a stable pay rise as you climb the career ladder. I've chosen to follow happiness above all else. And while living abroad, I would constantly be reminded that I've made a fun choice in my life that allows me to experience a different part of the world. I love cultural differences, however subtle. And being in the UK, I just don't get that kick. And the last thing to mention is the weather. Yeah. Because after having done 4 years in Sydney, I'm now of the opinion that life is too short to just accept that the sun comes out for 8 weeks of the year, if you're lucky. So every winter, I really struggle with the idea of hibernating until it will return 18 months later. And so Stacey and I gave London a good go. But this winter, we decided that what would be fun would be to give up our flat for good in London and escape the endless drizzle and grey rain clouds and go somewhere fun. Just choose somewhere that is reasonably affordable, get an Airbnb and live our best lives, soaking up the sun in the winter. Now, I should caveat that by saying we were slightly limited because we wanted to be able to take our sausage dog with us. So we didn't want to fly, right? So we bought a big map, laid it out on the dining table. Joking, we just got our Google Maps open and Airbnb and mutely searched while in the same room as each other, making occasional sounds of excitement and sharing links with one another. Very romantic. And then on top of that, some friends who also work remotely suggested some places. And we landed on going to Portugal, specifically Porto. We'd already been to Lisbon and loved it, but it felt like it was a little bit big for what we need in life right now. And it wasn't actually that affordable anymore. And then someone said, oh, well, you'll love Porto then. It's like a smaller, more affordable Lisbon. Done. So we ended our contract with our landlord. Stacey's parents helped us move all of our stuff into storage. And then we packed our car with the essentials, which was, of course, clothes, computers, and my piano. Yes, I'm not even joking. I took my piano all the way from London to Portugal in the car. And how did we do that? Well, I thought we'd go by ferry, but my God, that's expensive in comparison to the Eurotunnel. So we got ourselves in our car and got our car in a train. We literally drove inside a train, and then that train took us under the sea, or the English Channel, and we popped up in France. It only took like 30 to 40 minutes. And we had to remember to drive on the right in a car that was designed to be driven on the left side of the road, which I thought would be incredibly confusing, but really hasn't been. It's been surprisingly uneventful, actually. I just have to remember one thing: hug the curb. Hug the curb. If you're ever in my situation, hug the curb and you're fine. So we drove for 3 days, stopping off in Le Mans, Biarritz, Lyon, and then voila, we were in Porto. For non-Europeans, that might have been confusing. Voila is not a location. We did not go Lyon, voila, Porto. Voila is just a phrase that we stole from the French that means, there it is, there you go, done, or ta-da. So it was easy kind of thing. So we got to Porto in 3 days and had our Airbnb pinned on our Google Maps as I was driving along. Then as we got closer, bear in mind it was like 9 p.m. on the weekend, we were actually unable to access our street. And the reason being is because we booked a place that was not just central, it was in the most densely pedestrianized area. And at that time, cars aren't even allowed down those streets. So we looked for parking and then realized we ain't going to find parking around here, boy. No siree. It was a bit like, I don't know if you know how it feels to try and park in Covent Garden. I mean, you can't, or I don't know if you can even drive. You could probably drive, but you get the congestion charge and it just feels like it's impossible to ever do this. But it felt like we were trying to park in the middle of Covent Garden. It was just so stupid that we thought we could do that. So it was really fun parking a substantial distance away and lugging our suitcases and my piano through the crowds, of which were a lot of stag do's, really. And the reason being, we weren't just in the thick of it. No, we weren't just in the thick of it. Our Airbnb was actually slap bang in between 3 nightclubs and 5 strip clubs. I could have gone to a different one each night of the week if I'd wanted, but no, I just played my piano. Yes. So we got unpacked amidst the background noise of 3 clubs, absolutely going for it until like 3 or 4 a.m. Great start. And the next day, we noticed the high-speed broadband we'd been promised was non-existent. The next day, our bathroom started flooding with sewage. And the next day, our kitchen sink decided to leak. And the next day, our front door wouldn't lock, which was really tricky because we had booked some things and we actually couldn't go to them because we couldn't lock our front door. That's really annoying. And it was a PIN code one. We thought, oh, fancy, but it actually turns out that keys are much more reliable than electric PIN codes. But anyway, all the while that was happening, we had some lovely neighbours with JCBs and pneumatic drills, who I'm sure would go by the title of Demolition Men. So what with the daily drilling and nighttime DJ sets, we were starting to show signs of regret. But what really saved us, was having Storm Kristin, Storm Leonardo, and Storm Marta greet us back to back over the following 3 weeks. Now, I do ramble on for a while more, but as this is the free version of the episode, we're going to leave it here for today. But yeah, I used, very deliberately of course, a load of intermediate to advanced vocabulary in this very episode. And as always, I have gone ahead and created a load of resources to help you not just understand the language, but be confident in using them correctly yourself. The most comprehensive version of these resources that I have made for you is available by joining the Academy, where you'll get vocabulary breakdown videos, interactive exercises, weekly Zoom classes with me, and personalized writing feedback, again, directly with me. I highly recommend giving this membership a go because I offer a money-back guarantee. And I've been building it for over 6 years now and refining it as I go. It's now better than it ever was. The community is thriving and leveling up their English as I speak. And we're all having a lot of fun together. Plus, it's the main way to support this show. So if you like listening to the episodes, then joining the Academy helps me continue with the weekly broadcasts. To find out more, go to thebritishenglishpodcast.com/academy. Option 2 is to join the premium podcast, where you can unlock the full version of over 250 episodes, along with the official transcripts, extended glossaries and flashcards. Again, the membership really does help support this show from going under. And for that, go to thebritishenglishpodcast.com/premium. And then finally, I have made a free resource for this episode that goes over some of the essential vocabulary in a way that helps you to get active with your studies. So you can scan the QR code on screen right now, or click the link in the show notes, description box, or comments section to get your hands on a lesson pack that will 3x your likelihood of remembering the phrases I exposed you to in today's episode. So if you click that link, it will take you to this page. Fill out your name and email so I can send the PDF lesson pack directly to your email inbox for free. But yes, we will leave this one there. Thank you very much for listening to the end of this. I appreciate your listenership. Have a lovely week. My name's Charlie, and I hope to see you again soon on the British English Podcast. Bye for now.